Hello, BookTube. I'm back with a reading update. I finished quite a few things and I just kind of want to talk about them before I have to either return them to work or forget what I read about them. First up is one I had mentioned in my last video. This is Orochi by Katsuo Umez. This is volume 2. It's one of the omnibuses that has like 2 to 3 short stories within. I think there's at least 2 more that I've seen on Goodreads. And this features our main character, Orochi, who apparently, according to this, is named after a legendary mutilated serpent. And I kind of just briefly looked it up on Google, and it's something about a Japanese myth about a serpent who has like 8 heads and 8 tails or something like that. I don't know the connection. I don't see the connection with this. Other than the fact that she just has some strange powers to kind of like be able to control things like with her finger. And she kind of wanders around. She appears as a nurse or a maid, various things, and she kind of infiltrates into people's lives, kind of trying to help out, trying to be helpful in general. The second story here is called Home, and it features a man who, as a young man, just kind of finding his way into the world, wants to go off and seek his fortune, leaves home, and is kind of betrayed by someone he thinks is a friend and gets financially wiped out. And then he has to kind of return home, and his home is completely different. There's a young boy there who seems to be terrorizing everybody in the village. They're absolutely afraid of him. He has some sort of power over them. Yeah, a little bit creepy. It was an okay story. Had a weird, twisty kind of end. The second one is called Key. Also features a weird, kind of creepy kid. I think you could have called this one Liar. It's basically a Boy Who Cried Wolf type story. Overall, the stories were just okay. I wasn't totally captivated by them. The artwork is still good. I really enjoyed the artwork. I think when I first encountered this particular mangaka, it was with the Drifting Classroom. I read the entire series. Absolutely loved that. Thought that was really cool. It had kind of a sci-fi horror twist to it. And I did just recently find out that the mangaka had died this past October of cancer at like 88. So anyway, if you are interested in checking him out, I would start with the Drifting Classroom. I did come across another item. This is a graphic novel by Emily Carroll. It's called A Guest in the House. My first encounter with her work was Through the Woods, kind of a collection of short stories. Same kind of color scheme, if you notice. It's got the red, white, and blue, and then the black within it. Seems to be a theme with her. The artwork is fantastic. This particular edition is really gorgeous. Again, I just borrowed this from work. I'll show you the underneath the cover. There's like this knight. It's got something to do with who she thought she was. I guess as a young person, she dreamed of herself as like a knight. She dreamed of slaying dragons. She had an imaginary friend named Lady Grey who looked after her. I think she had a very lonely childhood. It describes her somewhere that she didn't have a lot of friends. She seems, I don't know, a bit depressed to me. We come to learn that she had met this slightly older gentleman. He was a dentist, came into town with his young daughter. He was recently widowed. They got to talking, formed a relationship, and she ends up marrying him. And she says, she says she loves him. And she says, I'll learn to love Crystal, the daughter. So I kind of was thinking, okay, is there going to be something about the daughter? Is she, kind of evil or something like that? Wasn't sure where that was going to go. She seems to be, our main character, Abby, like I said, she seems a bit depressed at times, not happy with herself, even though she describes, like, I don't have friends. I have trouble talking, like talking to people. She talks about the first wife, her husband's first wife. She was an artist. The only kind of remnants of anything of the first wife around the house is a painting that she had done of a lighthouse. And he says there's nothing else around the house. It seems like he doesn't even let the daughter have a picture of her mother. And she starts to eventually form a bit of a relationship with the daughter, talking to her and about her mother and asking questions. And she starts to question, I guess, how that first wife passed away. I thought, okay, this is intriguing. But then it just gets kind of weird where I didn't know quite where it was leading. There's a bit of a sapphic undertones to the storyline. I won't get into that in too detail in case of any kind of spoilers, but I was very confused by the ending. I went on Goodreads and kind of was looked, and it seemed like I wasn't the only one who's confused. I guess maybe the author left things up to you, but as the reader, but I didn't really have any conclusions. I didn't know what quite I was looking at. I got the partial impression of something, but it wasn't a satisfying end. I was just left too confused. Apart from the artwork, which is fantastic, you know, the storyline just left me like wanting more. Through the Woods, I was much more happy with. So those were kind of unexpected ones I came across at work, and I just kind of snatched them up when the opportunity arose. So other than that, I was listening to, I'm trying to pull a picture up of my audiobook was Small Angels by Lauren Owen. This was an interesting kind of Gothic, classic Gothic story. We have a small village and a wood called Mockbeggar. I always want to say Mockbeggar Woods. Okay, and the villagers don't talk about Mockbeggar Woods. They steer clear of it. There's some creepy things that have gone on in the past, and they're fearful of it like reawakening. But our story starts out with our not our main character, one of our characters named Chloe. She's about to marry Sam, who's from this particular village. She happens to be visiting it and had seen this this little church called Small Angels, which had been shuttered. It was on the outskirts of the woods, so nobody went there anymore. But she thought that would be a perfect place for the wedding. So they were in there trying to, clean up the church and everything. She, along with her fiance's sister, Kate. And Kate had, lived in the village. She had formed a relationship with the Gone sisters, like 4 sisters that lived near the woods. They had a special understanding with whatever was in the woods, that they were able to kind of come and go and be safe. And one day, the youngest, Lucia, who's always known as Bad Lucia, she's like the troublemaker who doesn't pay attention to the rules, breaks the rules, meets Kate, and there's a bit of a sapphic kind of storyline to this one as well. Not very heavy at all, but there's a relationship between the two, like a bond between the two, and she brings Kate to meet the other sisters, and they kind of introduce her to the woods, where to go, where not to go, things like that. But now Kate has returned after being gone for quite some time, and she's here to help Chloe, with the wedding and preparations and everything, and reconnects with some of the sisters. Now we find out through the course of the story, one of the sisters is no longer living, and there's some kind of hidden secret that it takes the entire book before it's revealed what happened, which is, just builds. There's constant tension building. It is a slow burn. Be prepared for that. But I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed the development of all the characters and the storyline and how things were kind of unveiled to us. And I thought the author did a fantastic job of this. So I really enjoyed it. My physical book that I was reading was a horror book called From Below by Darcy Coates. Bit of a chonker here. This is an underwater horror novel where we are featuring a kind of a video crew. They're going to visit a shipwreck. It's the Arcadia, and it sank like some 100 years earlier, way down below, where is like no like bacteria or anything that's really affecting the ship. It's very, very well preserved, along with some other things that are very well preserved, as they'll come to find out. But they have to provide like at least 12 hours of footage, which is going to take at least 3 dives for the crew to go down there. They were planning on doing some remote viewing with these little submersibles and things like that, remote controlled, but something goes wrong with them, they don't work. So they have to physically go down on each one of these dives, and each dive seems to be progressively more dangerous. Things that they're seeing, they don't really want to go back down, but then they have to decide, do we or don't we? Can we be safe? Can we, can we still go down there and get the footage we need so we can get paid? And they kind of agree to kind of go ahead and do this. But it was very creepy. It was very tense. Love the ending. I love everything about the storyline. I thought it was fantastic. And this had very well developed characters, setting, everything just gave me chills. It just creeped me out. And I thought it was fantastic. I've read a lot of her books. I love a lot of them. I don't think there's been any really misses. But yeah, this one's up there. I really, really enjoyed this one. So then I had to pick out a couple new books. I need a new audio book and a new physical book, because I always have at least one of each going. And I came across this one called A Haunting in the Arctic by C.J. Cook. I'd read The Lighthouse Witches by this author, And I really enjoyed that one. So I thought, okay, you know, something in the Arctic. And I didn't really pay that much close attention to the plot line. And this is where it gets funny. So this is the book. It's like, okay, you know, maybe there's some expedition to the Arctic and something happens out there. Wasn't really thinking it had anything to do with a sunken ship and someone that goes there to document the ship. What is interesting with this, which I forgot to mention, along with the storyline of the people that are going down to film the ship for this contract that they have to fulfill 12 hours worth of footage, you also have a parallel storyline of what led up to the sinking of the ship. So you're on board the ship before it sinks, seeing the crew, seeing what they're experiencing. Well, apparently the same thing happens in A Haunting in the Arctic. I'll just read the synopsis for you. It says, a deserted shipwreck off the coast of Iceland holds terrors and dark secrets in this chilling horror novel from the author of The Lighthouse Witches. It says, the year is 1901 and Nikki is attacked, then wakes on board the Ormen, a whaling ship embarked on what could be its last voyage. With land still weeks away, it's just her, the freezing ocean, and the crew, and they're all owed something only she can give them. Now, over 100 years later, the wreck of the Ormen is washed up on the forbidding remote coasts of Iceland. It's scheduled to be destroyed, but explorer Dominique feels an inexplicable pull to document its last days, even though those who ventured onto the wreck before have met uncanny ends. On board the boat, Dominique will uncover a dark past riddled with lies, cruelty, and murder, and her discovery will change everything because she'll soon realize she's not alone. Something has walked the floors of the Ormen for almost a century, something that craves revenge. So I thought that was hilarious. I ended up picking up basically a very similar plot line to the book I just finished. I don't know why these weird coincidences happen to me, but I just saw, you know, thought it was going to be like on land in the Arctic or something like that, you know, an expedition that goes there and then something happens. But no, it's on board the ship. Parallel storylines. Go figure. And the physical book, I ended up deciding to pick up something much more different. I hadn't read, I think I even read one classic last year. So I want to rectify that and get an early jump on reading some classics this year. So I picked up only my second Jane Austen. Now this is Northanger Abbey. Previously I read Pride and Prejudice quite a while ago now. Really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to read another one, and I picked something a little slimmer to kind of get my into classics this year. It's been a long time, but I did see some adaptation of this on TV. You know, I don't know who was in it or what, but I remember finding it kind of hilarious. So I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm already like 28 pages in, so I've got a good start on it. But just for those of you who haven't read it, the synopsis is it tells the story of Catherine Morland and her dangerously sweet nature, innocence, and sometimes self-delusion. Though Austen's fallible heroine is repeatedly drawn into scrapes while vacationing at Bath and during her subsequent visit to Northanger Abbey, Catherine eventually triumphs, blossoming into a discerning woman who learns truths about love, life, and the heady power of literature. I'm just starting to get into that part now, too. It says it's satirical. Northanger Abbey pokes fun at the Gothic novel while earnestly emphasizing caution to the female sex. But I'm enjoying it so far. So, yeah, those are the my current reads. I can hold that up without dropping it. And let me know what you guys are reading. I hope you guys are enjoying the slightly warming up temperatures now. And I'm looking forward to going out and reading again. I actually got one chance to do it already this year, so off to an early start of outdoor reading. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.